So practice number 4 is really a fun one for me because I mentioned when we talked about my background, I do mediation, I do facilitation, I get called into rooms where I get yelled at. I've learned not to take it personally. It's not me. You know, I'm just hired to go into contentious situations. And I can tell you many, many times, I pick up my phone and I'll have a client go, "Oh my God, Elizabeth," and we get done and I'm like, "How are you doing?" And they're like, "I'm freaked out." And I say, "That was a really good story you just told me. Okay, so let's take a pause." I actually have them breathe because sometimes they're big things. They're on the news, right? Or God forbid, when you're in politics, you know what happens on those when I work with people who are working on those kinds of things. But what we are designed to do as a human being is tell really good fish stories. So how many fishermen in the room do I have? And I'm raising my hand because I love to fish. I do it all the time. So how many of you have ever had the fish get just a little bit bigger as you tell a story? Right? Of course. Our brains naturally create drama. In fact, until we had pen and paper, our entire culture was transmitted through oral tradition, right? So it is no surprise that when anything happens that's dramatic, we tell a really good story. And we may even think the story is completely true. So one of the things to realize about your very human mind is it naturally embellishes. In fact, you've probably seen on the news some people who have been busted for embellishing on their stories, right? Yes, exactly. Some very, very famous people. And it was interesting to me because I always watch these things because I work in this business. And I actually had a talk I gave. It was a brand new talk, had never done the content before. It was custom. I was very nervous, wasn't comfortable with the content. And I told 2 stories. And I had my videographers, of course, there filming. And when I watched it back, I was fascinated that in both stories, I had told several facts wrong. And so I actually axed the footage. We're not using it, okay? Because I get like I don't need to be Brian Williams famous to figure out not to do that, right? Thankfully, I'll learn my lesson when I'm here. But it was interesting to me that I naturally told the story, and it was like one of the ones I swapped the name of a person. But I thought to myself, if my client watched it back, they'd be very mad that I'd done that. But I was like I was telling the story, and it was really good. And I had another thing I did too, where I like kind of discombobulated something. So our minds will automatically do this no matter how hard we train our minds. So the practice I want to give you, I call it the break the habit practice. And just so you know, if you want to become a hero in your organizations, anytime the proverbial blank hits the fan, this is the practice to master. I have had students come to me after and say, "I looked like a hero. We had this huge thing happen, and I went up and did that thing you taught me, and it all came out great, and I looked great." So you want to know the practice? All right. Here's the practice. It's called defining your story versus what happened. So whenever someone has a story, an upset, you're going to write the whole thing out. And when you're in a group of people and you've got a big upset, I literally get hired to come in and I get on the board and we put it all out on the whiteboard and the paper and the butcher sheets, and we get it all out there, all the mess of it in black and white, okay? Then what we do is actually look at everything that's up there in that story and we circle what is data, okay? So opinions can't go up there, judgments can't go up there, hearsay, gossip, secondhand, all that comes off the board. And so what we're left with is the data. Things that are validated, proven, and that is where we say, this is what we will action on. What that allows you to do then is to action on what is real instead of doing damage control on what somebody thinks. And unfortunately, because remember practice number 1, I taught you that views drive actions drive results, what people think or their view is a very unreliable space to solve crises in. And so you need to become master crisis managers where you can literally hear, whoop, story alert, and then start pulling those facts out of it. And like I said, this is one of those, people and organizations don't do this well, so when you master it, it works. And it will work greatly for your careers.